that's what the Marine Corps is about. You never, ever let one of your brothers fight alone.
All right, bro, we're rolling.
All right.
All right, so again, man, you're in Helmand Province.
Yeah. So I was in 2009 to 2010. I was in the Helmand Province in Afghanistan. Was there on my third deployment. I had volunteered to go with a handful of guys from 1-7 Suicide Charlie, and we were crossing deck and going with 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, and then we were assigned to India Company. And what was kind of crazy on the at the start of that deployment was we were still in Iraq when we volunteered, so we came home for 2 weeks, and then we had to redeploy. But in that 2 weeks and us checking in, everything, the deal was that we were going to be combat replacements. So we kind of get in where we fit in, and we're going to have to learn their tactics, their kind of chain of command, things like that. And
wait, so you just got back from Iraq, got 2 weeks off, and then now you're going to Afghanistan?
Yeah, so we had volunteered, and then in Iraq. We were still in Iraq. And they were like, well, we're going to send you guys home on the Advan party.
Right.
And you guys got to go check in. You don't get any leave. You got to go check in with the new unit. So we literally got home. Wasn't able to leave the base, but we could just be there for like a day or two. And then I checked in the guys that were going to be from my unit from 1-7 or from Suicide Charlie. There was like 10 of us, 15 of us, something like that. And I went to go check us in. And when I went to go check us in to the unit, they requested to talk to me on the side. And I had to go and meet the company CEO and the company first sergeant. And they just told me, hey, we just had, 3rd platoon squad leader, he just popped. And drug pop, and you're the only one that's been in squad leader's course, so we want you to be a squad leader. Also, you need 3 or 4 more guys so you can go to the bunch that you just brought to us. You can grab, a couple of those guys and you can bring them to your squad. But you got to go out in the back and go meet them. And I took my buddy Harris, one of my best friends even to this day, and I took a couple other people and another guy, Green, I took with me, and we went to go check in and meet our new squad. And it just looked like it was a band of misfits. You had it from every age group. You had late 30s, early 20s. I was 22 at the time. I think I was barely 22. And part of that group, one of their senior guys was this guy named Junior. And he knew that we were coming there to help. And he was one of the guys that was instrumental in helping all the younger guys, all the boots, kind of know like, hey, these guys have been through it. These guys, they're coming off a second deployment. They know patrolling, they know vehicle operations. They're going to help us be better. And then we're going to be together in this place that's going to be crazy. And, I just remember them telling us, hey, we're leaving in a week and a half and that's it, And we get on the plane and now we're in Afghanistan, and this is towards the end of 2009, and we were going to be operating out of the Bougie Boss Pass, which was a historic area where the Russians kind of started to lose the war in Afghanistan in the 80s. And we had to go in there to establish, these patrol bases, to start to get with the local populace to try to help them, to make them understand and help them understand why we were there and what we were trying to bring to the table. But that also meant this at the time, that was kind of like the Wild West. That was what it was told to me. They were just like, dude, you're in the Wild West now. And I remember the very first day we got there in 2009, I went to go do a left seat, right seat. And the very first patrol, that very first day, my guys were back at Camp Leatherneck, and I went out and we went to go check this village that they had already been operating out of for months. And as soon as we get there, they started indirect firing us. But I had never seen indirect fire this way. They were actually in vehicles walking us on a target. They were getting closer with each round, and we're still moving. So I knew the game was different. I knew that the tactics were going to be different. We were dealing with a very smart enemy that operationally knew their land, knew how to operate these big, weapons and be effective. And I just remember coming back to the base, and I was greeted by Harris and Junior, and everybody kind of had these big eyes. Like everyone keeps telling you you're going to the Wild West. You're kind of like, all right, But I saw firsthand just that small taste, and I told him straight up. I go, if I could, I'd request for us to be be here and be on post. I would if I could.
Right. And
they were like, what? Why? We're here to get after it. We got to get out there. We got to do this. We got to do that. And I told him, I said, I don't think I could do it because I can't see one of you guys get seriously hurt. Mm-hmm. I had made a choice, a decision that the kind of leader I was going to be was someone that it's either they come home as whole, or I'm going to be there if somebody gets hurt. And they're not going to go alone. You know what I mean? They're not going to, I don't care where they're at, where I got to pull them out of. I wasn't going to leave them behind. But that was a decision that I had made, you know what I mean? And I just remember they kind of didn't get it. And, fast forward now, we're like 4 months in. And, we've gotten to many contacts. And the contacts had grown now to complex ambushes where everything started with IEDs. Because we were using the vehicles a lot to get us from village to village, because we're talking, 15 miles, 10 miles between each village. Mm-hmm. And then you put that onto how far our patrol base was. So they could see us coming. So that was their plan. We're going to hit them with IEDs, pressure plates, majority of the time, take out the MRAPs, and then we're going to use, every single one of them was followed up by rockets. 2 to 3 rockets at least, and then small machine gun fire came in. And on this particular day, we knew we were going to be going into this longer mission, and it was going to be a couple days. So we were trying to watch a movie. We had this little portable DVD player, this little screen, and I had a squad now of, it was coming up on about 22 people, because it was a little bit of weapons. We had a 60s team attached to us. We had a machine gun team attached to us. And then we would be either mobile or we'd be on foot. But it was always that big. It just grew. Yeah. And it would be all of us kind of coupled and like this, trying to watch a movie. And that night we decided to watch Platoon for whatever reason. And Junior, who was my first vehicle driver, the lead driver, he was so smart and really knew the terrain. And I knew I could depend on him for him to make quick decisions. If something didn't look right, he was going to take a different route. And he was going to communicate that, And he was on his second deployment at the time. And, he had a lot of experience under his belt. And so I felt confident with him there, but he was always a jokester, and we'd always love messing with each other and fucking with each other. And he goes, "We're gonna watch Platoon." All right, dude. And he noticed in there that on the side of the Kevlar, all the guys would have like a playing card or something like that. And he went into the USO free bag area and he grabbed a deck of cards and he threw them all out and he goes, "We all got to grab a card, and we're putting this on the side of our Kevlars for tomorrow's mission." And I was like, "Really?" He was like, "Yeah, dude, we got to do it. He's getting everybody amped up. And so everyone's pulling, and I ended up pulling the king of spades, and we put it in, and we left early that morning, and we were coming over the Bougie Boss Pass. The way it kind of was it was like this trail that came left, and right at the tip, before you descended to the right, was you could see into the whole valley. And Junior's in the first truck, and he's getting over, and he's communicating back. The vehicle commander, I should say, is communicating back to me. This is what we're seeing. We're seeing 3 or 4 villages, different villages. We're gonna go get the lay of the land of one of the first ones. And I just remember I was in the 4th vehicle, so I was probably a couple hundred meters back behind Junior's truck, and as soon as I came up on the ridge line to descend, I just remember seeing how far Junior's vehicle was. And we had great spacing and everything was great. And this is like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, broad daylight, And I just remember getting down and now coming into the valley, and I just felt this shock. The shock blew me in my chair from in the truck in the dust. It was just like this thundering boom, and it did a huge gulf. It looked like a mushroom cloud, and I couldn't see Junior's truck anymore. And I just remember hearing this, and I I really thought it was indirect fire again. And what it was the tire, the front right tire, passenger tire. That's what hit the IED, and it blew it to like 100 meters past my truck.
Shit.
And I just remember I just remember looking at it, and I couldn't see the truck, and I was like, "Oh, my brother's dead." And so we stopped. We did this like V sweep up, and at this time, we knew that there was going to be a secondary. We knew there was going to be a back lay. We just didn't know where it was going to be at. And we V-sweep all the way up to the vehicle. It felt like an eternity. We get up to him, and I open up the door, and he's got his hands like kind of like this, and he looks down at me, and he goes, "Rod, what are you doing here, dude?" He goes, "I gotta back the truck up." And he thought we were on the base. He thought we were back. We had completed the mission. We were back.
Back in the. Still in Afghanistan, but back on the base?
But back at the base to go get chow, because that would always be our thing. As soon as we get back to the base, we're gonna go eat. And we're gonna tear it up. And he's like, he almost like looked like in a rush, like, "Dude, we gotta go eat. Like, come on, you know this." And I said, "No, brother, you were hit." And I could hear the gunner inside the truck screaming because he had hurt his hand. And I could hear the vehicle commander screaming because the blast was on his side. So it was like thunderous kind of ringing for him. And I just remember I asked Junior if he was okay. He did the nut check, and he did the arms check, and I could hear him going like this, and he was like, "I think I'm good." And I said, "Okay, all right, come here." So I pulled him out of the truck, and when I put him to my right because I knew that was cover from the rest of the valley. So I put him there, and the next thing I know is he's looking at me, and it was like all of the color left his face, and he became like kind of white. And he just goes, "I don't feel so good," and he goes down. And when I say he goes down, he kind of like his eyes kind of rolled, and he just kind of went like forward. And Doc comes up, and we're trying to assess him, and then he starts telling us like, "Hey, like, I can't really move. I think his body's going through an immense amount of shock, and Doc's trying to figure out what's going on, and he's telling me we need to get him the fuck out of here, right? We need to call for air medevac, and it needs to be right now. We're gonna set up it's not a pre-planned LZ. We're gonna set one up, put the call in. So I'm on the hook. I'm getting the call in, and then all of a sudden, I'm kind of kneed down by Junior, and he starts telling me, "I gotta piss. He goes, "I'm gonna piss myself." And it was like one of those moments where I didn't want him to feel like, I didn't want to give the enemy the satisfaction of being able to see my brother piss himself. And it sounds, I really don't care how it sounds, but in that moment it was everything. And so I remember calling out to Harris to bring a water bottle. They had those like really skinny kind of liter water bottles that they'd give us that was, who knows what kind of water it was, but it was water. It tasted kind of like water.
Right.
And I told him empty it out, and he was emptying it out, and he, you know, told me, hey, Junior, listen, dude, I'm gonna put your dick in this bottle, dude, and you just let it go. Just let it go. And man, you know, he's just pissing in the bottle. You know, and Junior's face was like complete relaxation, and he was like, oh, you know, and we just remember we had to get him out of there, you know, and we didn't want him to feel like he was such damaged goods that he had to piss himself, you know, and again, I think that goes with that love of you'll do anything for your brother if you could, you know.
What's wild is that you thought about that in that moment, like with all the different things going on.
Yeah.
You thought about, like, you know, I don't know, for lack of a better term, his pride or something. Like, I need to fucking protect him like this, in this way, right? Like.
Yeah, and I think that, to your point, like it has to be everybody in the Marine Corps, everybody in the service, I should say, they got their own little taste of how they're gonna be a leader, right? And some people are incredibly smart, and they're gonna think their way out of every possible bad turn, and they're gonna, you know, it's like this. They just got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wasn't that kind of guy. You know, I didn't have that. You know what I mean? But I knew that I could be dependable, and I knew that I could love them, because that was what I felt I could do better than anybody else, and I could be there for them, and I could still know my job and still know how to do it. And that to me gave me a lot of satisfaction, because in that moment, again, I just kind of was like, you're not going to piss yourself.
Yeah.
And Harris was, you know, he's the one who was like, dude, I got it, bro.
Yeah.
Pulled it out, dude. Put it in.
Yeah.
I think he even made a joke like, hey, dude, it won't fit at the top. And Junior kind of chuckled, and he goes, it's not that big, it'll fit. and even in that moment, dude, you know, it was like we could still figure out a way to make a dick joke.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And laugh, you know.
Yeah.
In the middle of Afghanistan, and you know, this MRAP, millions of dollars. It costs millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to get it built the way that you want it. And it's, in that moment, we could give a shit less.
Yeah.
We didn't care about it, but we cared about each other.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, I know it sounds cliche, but it is 100% truth.
Right.
Of when you care for one another the way we did, and the way that a lot of other units do, doesn't matter if you're there deployed a year, a month, 6 months, 9 months, 10 months, whatever it is, that bond, it can never be broken.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, like there's just nothing like it. And you know what? I have this conversation with every single veteran that comes to sit in this seat right here, man.
Yeah.
It's the camaraderie, like everybody misses that. That's like seems to be the most common denominator of, you know, what everybody misses about the service. Because, you know, when we're in there, you know, if you're infantry and stuff, you're like, this just sucks. I can't fucking wait to get the fuck out. We're doing a bunch of bullshit, you know what I mean?
The best about that, dude, you can't stop time.
Right.
That's the way you would think about your contract.
Yeah.
Fuck it. You can't stop time.
Yeah.
You got me for 4 years.
Yeah.
You got me for 4 years, man, but you can't stop time, and I think you want to get out so bad.
Yeah.
And I was so lucky, because in those moments, I had my best friend, you know, Shower.
Yeah.
My best friend, he wasn't with me in Afghan. He got hurt on our second deployment. But everybody that knew me within our unit, they knew that, I mean, people thought that we were legitimate brothers. They were like, yeah, it's the stepbrother. Yeah, like these guys, you know, because we did everything together. And I'll never forget, it wasn't even really a decision. It was like we were going to get out and we were going to move in together. Mm-hmm. That was like, we had just, and everybody was like, yeah, we're going to go back to Northern California, or we're going to go back to, you know, Washington, or, you know, I'm from the East Coast, so I'm going back to the East Coast. And, you know, a lot of people almost felt like I don't want to be around other people or like other Marines, or I want to be by myself. Mm. And it's kind of this false sense of belonging that you feel like I just want to be alone. Mm-hmm. But what you really need is that one person. Yeah. If you're lucky enough to have that one person to go, we're going to move in together. And we became our biggest support system, man. Yeah.
Well, you said you were with them since fucking the first day of boot camp, right?
Yeah, first day of boot camp. So, the only reason why we were fucking next to each other was his last name started with an S and mine with an R, and, you know, fucking alphabetical, right? And we fucking were like, R, are you in front of me or what? You know what I mean? and yeah, man, that first night going to or that first morning going to breakfast, dude, I was in line to get chow, which, first of all, I'd never eaten breakfast at 4 a.m. before.
You're talking boot camp now.
Boot camp, yeah. Okay. First day of boot camp, man. Right. And we had met on the way to boot camp because we were the only ones from, like, LA County, and he was from Palmdale. Everybody else had come from outside of, like, the county. Mm-hmm. So we had people coming from, like, San Diego, way up north. Like, it was just a weird bunch of us that were coming together. And we talked about how our high schools played football against each other. Mm. He played football. I was 100. I'm not the fat guy that I'm now. I was 115 pounds in high school, so I didn't play football, right? But we knew our schools, and we knew our areas, you know. And we just were talking, and we, you know, you're kind of gauging everybody, and you know, you almost feel like you have to make yourself known, and you're going there a lot of machismo, you know, a lot of. Like, hey, like I gotta be a badass, you know what I mean? And I just remember we were talking and laughing, and we get to boot camp, and we ended up figuring out we have the same MOS, you know, and then we figure out we're gonna be in the same platoon, and then we figure out that we're gonna be, you know, right next to each other because of the alphabet. And so then we go to chow that morning, and I'm there to get it, my food. I put down my tray, and I'm kind of like groggy, like I don't know what I'm doing. And I just hear this guy go, gain weight, 3rd phase. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I was like, I just kind of like looked at him, and I was like, dude, there's literally like 2 people left. It's me and like 2 other people, and it's the end of the line, bro. Mm-hmm. You can't wait. Like, you're gonna get these messed up eggs that you really want them like that bad, you know? Right. And he was like, yeah, get the fuck out of the way. He was like, I was like, what? And he goes, oh, and he kind of like put his tray down, and he kind of like looked at me, and he was like, what the fuck are you going to do about it? And I, well, fuck it. So I fucking hit him and dropped, dude. And I was like, oh, in boot camp. And I was like, oh, it fucking, you know, it worked. You know what I mean? Yeah. And all of a sudden, I didn't see the guy that was behind him, dude. And these guys were the Advon party to come get breakfast early to go back to cover the squad bay. So that's why they were asking, and they were about to graduate, dude. So that's why they said gain weight 3rd phase. Right. They were about to they were in 3rd phase of boot camp, about to become Marines. Yeah. And when the second guy hit me, I didn't see him. And John or Shower started beating his ass. And so then it's us 2 against those 2, and we're fucking them up. And we're smaller than them. But we're just going like, we're going crazy on them. And they finally split it up, and our drill instructors are like, what the fuck is your problem? You know, come here. And then we go in the private, and they go, so what happened? And we're like...
They started talking to you normal?
Yeah, and they're like, what happened? This is what happened. He goes, so wait a minute. So he goes to shower, he goes, so wait. Why did you get in? He goes, 2-on-1. It's an unfair fight. I wanted to even it up. And he goes, I'll never forget that drill instructor was like, that's what the Marine Corps is about. You never, ever let one of your brothers fight alone. And we took that and ran with it, dude. And it really started from there, our relationship. You know, I told him, I think after that, I told him, I was like, dude, I got your back, dude.
That gave me the fucking chills, bro. Like, that's legit.
Yeah.
You never ever let one of your brothers fight alone. That's fucking... I had a feeling, man, that the drill instructor was going to respect that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And then he brought us out in front of everybody. He's like, you fucking, what the fuck are you doing?
They
you know?
thrashed you for it still,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. But like 30 seconds early, he was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what you have to do. You have to be there for each other. And that is what they said, that's what a Marine Corps infantryman does.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Dude, so that's crazy. So from boot camp, I imagine you go to School of Infantry, right?
Yep.
And the story you told earlier about your buddy Junior, that was your third tour?
Yeah, so I joined in October of 2006. And by the summer of 2007, we were in Iraq for our first deployment.
So before we get to there, if you don't mind, what inspired you to go into the Marine Corps?
My brother, 7 years older, is the best Marine I've ever seen. And he had done so much. And, you know, I was in high school. I think I was getting free stuff for skateboarding. I was kind of good, you know, and I thought I was a little badass. And I was like, I'm not going to go to college. You know, I'm going to figure this thing out on my own. And my brother was like, you're not going to figure it out. He goes, why don't you just go to the Marine Corps? And I was like, I can't go to the Marine Corps, dude. You know what I mean? And he goes, well, why not? He goes, you should go to the Marine Corps. And in fact, you should be in the infantry. And I go, he had said it so many times, and then he kind of was like, oh, okay, I get it. You can't do it. Like, you can't. And I was like, no, I could, but I don't want to. And he was like, no, I get it. You can't. Like, it's all good, dude. Like, you know, figure it out. And I told him one day, I want to go to the Marine Corps. He goes, all right. So he put me in contact with a recruiter. Dude, I had graduated high school in June of 2006, and I took the soonest date to go. And that was October of 2006. Because I didn't want to wait around. I didn't want to, you know, I didn't need a year to think about it. I didn't need, you know, to do like a different program.
Mind.
No. Yeah. I was like, for me, I had to have the mentality of fuck it, let's go.
Right.
You know, and I'll never forget, man. He goes, no matter what job is offered to you, you got to be in infantry. You have to be in the infantry. So I took the ASVAB, and I took it with another dude. I didn't know who he was, and this dude, the recruiter comes out with one piece of paper in one hand and like a packet in the other. And he puts the packet in front of the other guy, and this dude had fucking almost every job that you could be in the Marine Corps because he scored so high. Wow. And the recruiter was like, dude, let me talk to you about intel. Let me talk to you about this. Let me talk to you about that. And he had one piece of paper for mine. And he put it in front of me. He goes, you passed by like 2 points. You could be in the infantry.
That was me, dude.
And I went like this. I was like, but the infantry, right? He goes, yeah, man, sign here, initial here. You go to boot camp in October. And I was like, boom, 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 boom. And this other guy's looking through all of his, you know, jobs. And he's like, you know, what's this? And what's this? And I was like, fuck that. I know what I'm doing, dude. I'm out, dude. Wow. And yeah, man, you know, it just was one of those things.
So you join in October 2006. Yeah. And you said a year later you're in Afghanistan.
No. Less than a year later, I was in Iraq.
In Iraq.
Yep.
Yeah. What unit were you with?
1-7, and then I was assigned to Suicide Charlie, and then Johnny was assigned to Baker Company. So there we are again, still in the same unit, and we stayed in the same barracks. The second floor was for Baker Company only, and third was for Suicide. So every weekend we drive back to the valley where my family was originally from, and we'd go out, but we were the only ones leaving the base.
So did you get dropped into a middle of a workup, or?
It was just before the workup, so we were true boots of like coming in and gonna learn how to do everything their way, you know. And then we go to Iraq. We were in hit Iraq in 2007. Came back like very early 2008. like April of '08. And then I was home for a considerable, a good amount of time, because at that point I got the opportunity as a Lance Corporal to go to the School of Infantry Squad Leaders course. And I never forget, I was calling my brother because I was going to be able to stay at his pad, because he was stationed in Pendleton. So I got to stay in his pad in Lake Forest.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, I get to be there, and I'm so excited. And he was like, wait a minute, you're going to the Squad Leaders course? I go, yeah, they just told me right now. And he goes, dude, I'm so fucking proud of you. He goes, he's like, you're a Lance Corporal? He goes, and I didn't really know, because as an infantry guy, you don't get to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, especially Lance Corporal, Squad Leaders course.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, bro. They just told me I'm going, so I'm going. You know what I mean?
You ain't a squad leader till you're a fucking sergeant.
Yeah, exactly. And so he was like, no, man, like, I got guys that are staff sergeants that have to go through that, because he was part of recon, and that's part of one of their schools that you have to go through, and so he was just very proud. And I remember Shower would come down on the weekends, and we'd talk about some of the stuff I was going through, a land nav and all that stuff, right? And then I graduated, dude, and my brother was just like, dude, you have no idea how big this is, And then I went back to the unit, and then I was assigned as a squad leader. And now we're pretty much not in the middle, but right after the beginning of the workup for our second deployment. And with that, we were going to Iraq, and
so you did 2 tours Iraq?
Yep. And then in the second one, towards the end, we were like a month and a half away from coming home. And we came in from a patrol, and First Sergeant said he needed to talk to everybody. And he goes, our sister unit at 29 Palms, 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines is doing their workup right now to go to Afghanistan. And they need combat replacements. So we're going to ask all you guys. And I didn't really, I was kind of like, in my heart, I knew I should go. And then Harris, my boy, was sitting right next to me, and he raised his hand, and I raised my hand. And there were some guys that were going to be volunteering to go that, they just had babies on their second deployment, and they didn't even get to be home to whether they were going to be a good dad or bad dad. They didn't even get that opportunity. So a lot of us that didn't have kids or anything like that, we went in front of them and we're like, nah, like, you guys, you don't need to, and I remember calling my brother and telling him, hey, dude, I'm coming home early. And he goes, why? He knew something wasn't exactly there. And I said, well, I volunteered to go to Afghanistan. And he was like, hey, bro, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. He goes, nobody, he's like, I've been operating for a long time. Nobody just comes home for 2 weeks and then goes to a brand new fucking theater. Nobody. He goes, so you have to know that this is a very special moment, that you're doing the right thing, and we support you. And my family it was tough for them, definitely really tough.
Yeah, I mean, here they are, you're probably writing letters home, making calls when you can. Yep. Emails, maybe. I don't fucking know what it was like in 2006.
I got a little bit of time to be able to do emails, but everything was mainly letters, or calls.
And you're probably relaying that you're on your way home. You're going to be coming home soon, and then, hey, I will be home for 2 weeks, but then I'm fucking gone.
Yeah. I mean, my father, I just remember him, it was like his soul kind of left him, and he was like,
another stint of worrying, I hope every single day.
Yeah, man, and I think that's once you get out, you really look at fuck.
Yeah.
That because they can't do anything.
Yeah.
Other than support, like that. That's it. That's all they can do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you're there living it. You know what I mean?
What was that first tour like for you?
Oh, dude, I just remember I didn't get into a lot of contact or anything like that, but I was a boot, dude. Yeah. And it was like, I could be honest with you, man, it was so hard being a boot with some of my seniors.
Yeah.
Because they were tough.
Yeah.
And so by the time we got home, dude, I almost felt like I fucking had been through it. like you just had this like feeling of like I'm not a boot anymore.
Right.
Like
yeah.
you can't fuck with me
because they put you through the fucking ringer.
They do. No, they do.
As a boot in the infantry, you go through the fucking ringer, man.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you get nothing to yourself. You know, no time to yourself. No.
Yeah. You're fucking on the working party.
Working party or post.
You're fucking pulling the worst duties.
Yep.
Like, you know.
Yeah, worst sleep schedules, fucking everything, dude.
We got a fucking 96 this fucking weekend.
Nope.
Rodriguez, you got fucking 2 shifts.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, fucking awesome, dude. Thanks. Like, you know, and so, but we learned so much when it came to foot patrols and clearing buildings. And all of those things were used in Afghanistan. I was so thankful to be on 2 deployments because the first deployment, we were in Hit Iraq. It was very, very, very much an urban environment. It was westernized. There was, you know, the game cafes, right? They loved Eminem, right? Like it was so westernized, but the tactics that I learned, how to keep accountability of all your shit, how to treat people within your squad, how to deploy your squad for patrols in tight areas, big areas, clearing a building, 2-story, 3-story, 4-story, multiple buildings at the same time, how to provide true overwatch, how to be, you know, looking for a route clearance. What are we looking for? We found so many IEDs, you know, there. I mean, it was insane. But all of that led to my second deployment. Now you switch it and we're, you know, as a country, it's 2008 now, right? And we're about to, we're going to leave, you know what I mean? And so that changed it from foot patrol to now vehicle patrols and teaching the Iraqi army, teaching the Iraqi police how to do certain things, how to, you know, kind of putting the final touches on that, mixed in with a rise in IEDs, a rise in small arms fire. And all of that, again, gave me so much. It truly gave me an advantage as a squad leader compared to my other counterparts that had only been to Iraq maybe once and then did a buildup or a workup. Because operationally, they only knew what the workup's going to teach you and maybe what they learned 2 years prior in Iraq. And a lot of them probably forgot a lot of that stuff, right? Or a year prior, right? And so I think for me to be so fresh in certain tactics, not just from a vehicle standpoint, but also, you know, from a foot patrol, I was really able to teach a lot of my guys how to call for fire, you know, how to do all of these little things that I was doing already. It just, I was doing it in real time, not in a training environment.
Right.
So I could give them a little bit more of a, okay, hey, you're going to be going through this, or think about this. What do we have on? And that's where, you know, from a patrol brief, how to do that effectively and how to get the most out of your buck. So everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody knows their job. And then everybody knows what to do when something goes sideways, you know?
Did you have any close encounters through any of these tours? Did everybody make it back home with you?
Yeah, no, I was very proud. You know, my squad at the biggest was 22, you know, and 6 of those Marines were issued Purple Hearts and for various injuries. And I had guys that, you know, were Lance Corporals that had a full stack bigger than some of our staff sergeants. You know what I mean? And I got to serve with some guys that were just average Joes, people that worked from UPS to Carl's Jr. to Domino's to factory workers to working at a gas station to not even working at all, just trying to fucking find their way.
Yeah.
But they all were hard workers, and they were all like these average Joes that just got to rise to each one of these occasions, and they never backed down from anything. No matter how bad it was, they never backed down.
After doing, you know, these 3 tours, combat tours, you know, what was it like for you transitioning out of the military? When did you get out?
October of 2010.
2010. So what was that like for you, you know?
Well, I was so lucky to be able to have shower with me. Because I knew that we were going to push each other to be successful, right? We knew we were going to be successful. We just didn't know exactly in what field. I feel like he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and that was become a personal trainer. And I mean, I remember he was sleeping in his car at LA Fitness because they wouldn't hire him as a personal trainer with clients. He had to like do this networking thing, but not get paid while he's trying to get clients. He wasn't getting paid. And so it was like, he'd have to be there when they open at 5 a.m. to try to get the early birds, the people that were coming in early. Because then from like 8 to 12, everybody's at work. Nobody's coming to the gym. And then from like 12 to 2, they had some people coming in for lunch, but then the rush would start at like 4, from like 4 to 10. And you have to be there all day, just trying to hustle. And you could look at his car, dude. His car was just full of Tupperware. Because we were both on a budget. We were just going to school with the GI Bill. We're not making any money, But we're there pushing each other, and we're there caring about each other. And we'd come back from like job interviews with people like, you don't really have a lot of experience. And it's like,
that's some crazy
I don't know how much
right?
more experience I could have. Dude. You know what I mean? And but to that constant like, dude, fuck that. Fuck him. Like, you're going to find something, and him grinding and made me want to be better. So it was like we were helping each other in so many other ways than just verbally listening to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's a huge fucking benefit for you to be able to get out with one of your fucking brothers like that, best guys, I mean, it makes it a lot, I'd imagine it'd make it a lot smoother transition, because most people, they don't have after anybody doing combat tours and stuff, like you come out and you feel fucking alone, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and you feel like, I don't know what to do. You kind of thought you knew what to do.
Right. So was there ever a point, having been through all that you've been through, man, did you ever come to any point where you've noticed anything different about yourself? Like, did you ever go into depression? Do you deal with PTSD? Like, what's your mental health like getting out? Yeah,
I think for me, it took me a little while to really kind of like actually admit, like, some of the shit that I had went through was not necessarily normal. You know what I mean? But Johnny was there the whole step of the way to go, it's not fucking normal. It's not. But we got to figure out a way to like talk about it with us. And when to bring it up in other outside situations, because you're going to be judged about it. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to bring that stuff up. And one of the biggest things that we both were, kind of reminding each other is we're not really owed anything. And I remember my brother told me one day, he goes, listen, dude, nobody fucking cares. You still got to get up and you got to go out and grind. You got to make something good. You got to make something of yourself in a positive way. You know what I mean? You have to do that because nobody else is just going to give you anything. Yes, you did all these accolades and these things for the country. And yes, there's some cool things, out there. Sure, yeah. But if you don't know where there are or what is there around you or available, you just got to grind and you got to get out there and you got to make something of yourself. If not, you're going to get left behind. You know what I mean? And so it's definitely difficult, but I remember just, again, I was so lucky, dude, to be with Shower and being able to talk with my brother. I mean,
so are there any things you do, Nick, now to manage those feelings? What type of things do you do? Some people choose exercise. Some people, they put themselves in a position to be working towards a certain purpose or helping people. Like, what do you do?
So I really love the fact that we're able to John, it pushes me in the gym. But family keeps us looking at the brighter side of things. I'm an uncle to 3 beautiful nieces that, they love life, dude. I mean,
kids, man.
It's the pure joy of the innocence of life hasn't come and hit them in the fucking mouth, but when it does, you kind of get to be there because you've put in the work to let them know that you're there for them. that they don't ever have to go through anything alone, truly alone, right?
Right.
So taking that time to really look around and breathe that beautiful kind of air, man. It sounds it sounds like cliche, but when you take that moment and you know, we're just there barbecuing, and we look at each other and we're like, dude, we used to not be able to do this. We used to struggle to make rent. We used to struggle to do it. Now we're, you know, where we're going to eat at. What are we going to do? You know, we want to go on vacation. We want to go do this. We want to do that. But we're working our asses off to get to that point. You know what I mean? So I think the last part of that is just trying to help out other veterans, you know, help them, you know, feel like they're worth it, right? They're worth everything, and they deserve, if you put in the work and you put in the effort, you deserve to be happy. So don't rob it from yourself, you know?
And you know, here, I preach it all the time here at Urban Valor. Every fucking veteran, like not just a combat vet, like if you fucking signed a contract and you gave up a portion of your life to serve your country, then, you know, it's a fucking big deal. You know what I mean? Regardless of whether, you know, because, you know, I guarantee you almost every single fucking Marine, if they were in your shoes, they would have went to combat and did the same fucking thing. It's just, you know.
And to your point, I love that, because I always tell people it just wasn't in your deck of cards.
Right.
But it's all right, though.
Right.
It's all right. It's all good.
Right.
You know? Yes, I hope maybe one day, if I'm lucky enough to become, you know, a father, that my kids will dig my military awards, dig my ribbons and all that stuff. And yeah, you know, I love it. You know, I look at them a lot because it reminds me, it grounds me, and really kind of goes like, don't forget who you are. Don't forget what got you through all those times. But now you're more. Right? And you know, now you can keep going, and you know, everybody has a little bit different. Some people, you go in their house, there's no veteran stuff up.
Yeah. It's like almost you have to constantly remind yourself to always apply the lessons you learned during those times of struggle, like in war, in combat. And it doesn't go just for combat. It goes for any time anybody fucking struggles, you learn a lesson. You know, you go through the fucking suck. You teach yourself something, you learn something, and then, you know, the point of that is to always learn to apply those lessons that you learn. Because sometimes we forget. Like I used to, in Iraq, I remember I used to pray to God and say, God, if you just allow me to fucking get home, make it home, I don't give a shit if I'm homeless for the rest of my life on U.S. soil. I will be fucking grateful and thankful. You know what I mean?
And I think to your point, it's just, you just want to get back.
Right.
Right? You just want to get back, and then once you do get back, you're like, dude, there's so many things I want to do. Right. You know, and so just having that positive mental outlook on it, I think is something that's really big that's not really talked about a lot, right? Yeah. It's like, yes, we talk about the bad, but there's so much good and so many funny things, and then you really do have to stop and call some of those people and keep that constant contact, because life will go at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and the next thing you know, it's been 4 years. You haven't talked to anybody, you don't keep up with anybody, but now you can leverage social media. Yeah, there's a lot of bad shit on social media. Yeah, you're gonna get there's different views, but it is what it is, man.
Yeah, don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, but you can keep contact with so many of your guys. You get to see them with their kids. You get to see them become fathers.
Yeah.
You know, and mothers, and be able to, whether you're a good dad, bad dad, doesn't matter, but you get the opportunity to be one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, man.
But.
We're gonna get ready to cut it now, man. But before I do, I always ask everyone if there's any last words, you know, or anything you want to get in there before we cut the tape.
No, yeah, I just want to say thank you. You know what I mean, and you know, I'm lucky to be able to have the kind of people that in my life, you know what I mean, that I did, or that I still do, and I don't take that for granted. But I think what you're doing is going to give people the opportunity to just talk to each other and get a different perspective, and a different view on things. And then guess what? Now we can talk about good things too, right? And it's not always just about the bad. It's about how can we truly help each other, you know, in a non-selfish way, because when you truly help somebody from the avenue, I don't want anything in return, it's a pretty good feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for being here, man. It takes a lot of courage to come sit in the seat. So I fucking appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for being here, brother.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more. Red light, no way, I'm coming back home. Long dirt road.